If there is one chink in Barcelona's golden armor per se, it has always been the inability to see the first team influence in a consistent basis by the presence of youngsters. I may not be completely consumed by the entire episode that Riqui Puig is not starting, but the reality is that I do endorse giving all players a fair chance, a fair number of opportunities to state their claim. Something which undeniably Riqui Puig has not been given. This particular situation is something which has been translated from manager to manager, from Valverde, who barely gave him any game time, 𝗍𝘂𝘁𝘁, who gave the youngster a bit more protagonism but nothing really substantial, and now Ronald Koeman, who has recently just granted Riqui Puig his first 25 minutes of the season. All of this together in combination has led me to believe that something is really going on, that there had to be some reason as to why Riqui Puig was not favored by managers, some area of his game that managers simply didn't like. So if you're thinking the very same thing as me, join me as we find out why Riqui Puig isn't trusted by managers. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here. Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and if you are yet to subscribe to the channel, be sure to watch this video and then make your decision whether you think that will be something worthwhile. But anyhow, the case with Riqui Puig is always one of this prodigy, that perhaps he is going to be the next Iniesta. And whilst I do not like making comparisons of that matter because I believe that every player is his own player in its own right, he does share some similar qualities to the ex-Barcelona captain. With silky close control and an eye for pass, but also on top of that, the 21-year-old is a great midfielder, utilizing the vision of his to spot spaces that would enable him to get into threatening situations for the opposition. Here in an example of the game against Athletic Bilbao that we saw by the end of last season, Riqui spotted two spaces in two different occasions, in order for Alba and Messi to pick him out respectively. On both occasions, he is proven to be a potential goal scorer. He's not afraid to take risks in attack. He might not be able to finish them himself, but always give himself the possibility of doing so. Additionally, Riqui Puig is what I like to call a progressive midfielder. Not only is he able to accept the LGBT community, but he also specializes in progressing the chances. His first thought on receiving the ball is to play forward, into players in more advanced positions. However, the mentality to play forward alone isn't enough to be able to regularly progress the ball. A midfielder needs to have and possess certain qualities, those which Riqui Puig thankfully has in abundance. Evidenced by this in 1.95 deep completions per 90 and 6.25 progressions runs per 90, there's still one more thing that I have to mention and put above all of those things, which is that he has the ability of receiving the ball behind the opposition midfield line. This is due to his unique spatial awareness. In the screen right now, you will see an example of how Riqui Puig is able to create passing lanes to receive between the lines. He will position himself between two of the opposition midfielders in order to be able as far away from any opposition player as possible, thus reducing the probability of the pass being intercepted. This is very crucial when breaking a team down, because it means that the player is able to get himself into the right spaces to then allow link-up play from others like Lionel Messi, like Antoine Griezmann, and he just becomes a very useful outlet. That is why it's no surprise that these high-quality players like playing with him. The very same thing with Messi and youngsters like 𝗯𝗀𝘂𝗏 Fati. These kids that come through La Masia understand this perfectly, and it's a unique trait that is ingrained in their brains very early on. And this is due to the Barcelona Academy and the way that simply make these players a little bit more intelligent than the rest. So now, what is not so hot about Riqui Puig? How come him being such an incredible player, he still don't get the game time that he deserves? Perhaps is it because something that is in his game? Well, let's investigate. So the first thing that strikes out about Riqui Puig is his 5'6", very slender frame. His lack of physicality is going to bother a manager certainly, who wants to be looking for a more robust and aggressive profile of a player. But likewise, it is in this very same small frame that he has that makes him nimble, agile, and extremely hard to pin down. The reality is that whilst most people like to excuse this as the reason why Riqui Puig isn't getting the game time that he needs, the reality is that we've seen many other players of this profile that are still able to reach the top level. You take a look at Marco Verratti, it might be one of the best examples, someone like Alejandro Gomez as well. But anyhow, we praised a lot of his movement before. And that is particularly one of the areas where it might be very beneficial to his game, but also is very detrimental to the performances that he's able to create. Via all the runs that he makes, via all the interpretations of spaces, those are actions that are actually very risky, and most of the time Riqui Puig will not track back to his original natural position, whilst in attack that is something that is more, I'll say, irrelevant. In defense is completely the opposite. This is a problem that Barcelona has shared all the way since Valverde with 𝗍𝘂𝘁𝘁 and Ronald Koeman, because they have a player in Lionel Messi that really do not give you that much in defense. He can help you occupy some spaces, he will put a tackle here and there, but most of the time he won't be able to recover for the spaces that he will mostly leave behind. And Riqui Puig in the same way does that, and you have to account for those lack in defensive contributions. So that is why basically most of the managers prefer to give the option to other midfielders. In Sergi Roberto, in Carles Aleñá, in Miralem Pjanic, in Arturo Vidal, in Rakitic before, you have players which, because of their natural style of play, are not gonna leave those gaps in behind. Whilst we think Riqui Puig can exercise that role of ACM, think of the way that he plays. You will not put Andres Iniesta in one of the double pivot positions, and that is what so many people are asking, and it's unfounded really. Riqui Puig cannot make that role his own. He will need to play further forward in the number 10 position, and right now on top of that there are so many names in front of him. Coutinho, Pedri, Messi, Griezmann, 4 options that can play there already, and options that are playing in different positions already in the team. So technically Koeman, when he has the vacancy in the middle, is going to be pushing one of those first than the youngster. But I want to show you now his defensive actions. This is where Riqui Puig really has been quite underwhelming. He is producing less interceptions but winning more defensive duels. Why? Well, because interceptions are something that happens most of the time when your team is transitioning to defense. And we see that Barcelona, that is one of the main vulnerabilities that this side have. In terms of defensive duels, it means that Riqui Puig is winning the ball higher up the pitch. He's pressuring, trying to get it back, and that is a huge benefit for Barcelona and the entire system when you have all the players pressuring. Ideally, Ronald Koeman would like a player like that, because it means that he's very focused in trying to win the ball back. But the case with Barcelona and how most of the teams set up, teams won't give you that opportunity. To make it work, you need an entire system of midfielders and forwards pressuring, so that in return you don't leave those gaps in behind. You need every single player contributing to the same goal, and right now Barcelona cannot afford that. So what is next now for Riqui Puig? I said that he plays incredibly well and he can actually give a lot to the team, but he also lacks in defensive qualities. Well, the case is here that Riqui Puig actually in this system of Ronald Koeman can continue to become a very important substitute, and that is something that I can only criticize Koeman for doing. There is opportunities for Riqui Puig to play in games, for instance against Atletico Madrid. A player of his qualities was needed because you need to win the game. It doesn't matter if you concede another goal, you still need to try and get 1 or 3 points. So by doing so, by introducing Riqui Puig, Barcelona are giving themselves more chances. If you're too worried about your defensive setup, what is the point? And precisely, that is the thing that disgusts the Barcelona crowd. So ultimately, I would just tell Riqui Puig, keep calm, play your game, take your chances. It's unfortunately that the manager has the final say, it really is how it is, that's life, but you're gonna be outlasting him, so we really shouldn't be worried.